The RV Show USA is brought to you by Flagstaff, Rockwood, building better RVs, making smarter RVers.
You know, with record sales continuing in the RV industry, the new challenges for RV manufacturers have never been greater. For suppliers, dealers, consumers, lots of challenges have surfaced, including lots of rumors that RVs today, all of them are junk. That's what they're saying. Last week, we talked about some of these rumors with Zach Rininger from the Flagstaff Rockwood division of Forest River. Zach helped give us a perspective from where he stands with some really good info. Now, the response to that interview that he did was predictably, I guess, a little bit polarizing. So we decided to address some of the comments that people made since last week. We invited Zach to return and put him in the hot seat, so to speak, see what he has to say. Before we bring him up, make sure you click the subscribe button if you would. Mash the bell too. That way you will receive a notification each time we release a new video. So go ahead and hit that bell. All right, Flagstaff Zach, thank you so much for coming back on.
Alan, thanks for having me back. I'm glad they didn't run me out of town yet.
Well, not yet. That was a really good variety, I think, of comments after last week's show. What do you say we go over some of them and you can respond?
I'd love to. Bring them on.
All right. So, folks, if you have some thoughts or a question maybe about the RV industry, please post it in the comments or send us a message. We'll stop in a few minutes and move some of the live posts and questions to the front of the line. So post your comments, questions for Flagstaff Zach. We're going to start out with this one. David Kendall had a good question. It was real simple. He said, why not just buy American-made parts? I mean, that's a great question, Zach.
Great answer is we do. 75-ish% of what we build is made in America. So the majority of your major components, frames, sidewalls, all of your major components are made in America. So we do that. But when a customer is expecting a 100% finished unit to get out there, we've got to wait for that extra 25% to get into the country. And as of now, I'm not really aware of, someone who manufactures TVs here in Texas or different electronics. But there's also something else that they have to consider is a lot of our suppliers are building the components that we use in the U.S., but maybe some of the components that they use or the parts that they need or the wiring they use or even maybe just some of the raw materials come from overseas. So there is a certain level of we have to import certain things. It's a global economy, and there's certain places that we just have to go in order to get the parts that we need.
It sounds so easy.
75% of what we make.
Yeah, well, that's more than I thought, actually, Zach. But in a perfect world, hey, let's buy American. And I know that everybody tries to do that, but it's awful difficult. Like you said, we're in a global economy, but it's not just the RV industry. It's the automotive industry, it's motorcycles, it's power tools. Anybody that makes just about anything has to outsource some of the things that the components overseas. So. Anyway, I hope that's a good enough answer for David. John Dugan said, he says he calls BS. He says, once you leave the RV dealer, they don't even want to know you. How do you respond when you hear a comment like that, Zach?
Well, I guess my response is that I'd like to know more about what kind of experience he had with Flagstaff and Rockwood. I guess even if he didn't buy Flagstaff and Rockwood, but he obviously had a poor experience with the dealership, and I can't speak to exactly what went on or who he bought from or why he had that experience. I think inevitably you're going to have, I don't know of anybody that has 100% positive reviews. Even you and I, Alan. I mean, if you look at our comment section, we don't have 100% positive answers.
That's right. That's right.
Not everybody's going to be satisfied. I think finding the right dealership in your local town is important. But I guess I would say I'm sorry, but I don't know enough about the situation to really be able to give him guidance. We work with predominantly really good dealers at Flagstaff and Rockwood. I can't always say that about my history in the industry because there's not always great dealers everywhere. But it's no different. I mean, I've had bad experiences buying, well, for example, my pool equipment that froze during the Texas storms. I'm having a terrible experience with the people that we chose to go with to fix our stuff. It's atrocious, but I will never go back to them. I will rely on reviews more, and I'll use someone else in the future. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop swimming.
Right.
I've just the tools out there to make a better decision next time.
I think that expectation levels are very high, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but sometimes they're unrealistically high, I think. And then when a buyer has unrealistic expectations and is unwilling to understand the true dynamic, the circumstances of the industry, and you're so eloquent at talking about the shortages and the wait times, and people may not want to hear it, but it's the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to believe that some miracle is going to happen. They're going to get their RV, in 30 days, 60 days, and it's just not happening right now. And so the expectations, I think if you have too high expectations, it can really set you up for some disappointment down the road. That's just my thought.
Well, and it goes back to his comment. I mean, that also comes back to the dealership who maybe they didn't set the expectation at the proper level. So maybe he thought he was getting something sooner and he wasn't. Or maybe that dealer just got information from us that time was accurate. But things have changed so fast and so dynamically, and they're literally changing by the day, that perhaps what we said 3 months ago completely got blown out of the water 2 weeks later. So that's why I say I don't know exactly what kind of experience he had, but in the current environment, there's a lot of things where you're exactly right. The expectations, and we're all trying to give our best estimate and do our best, but sometimes it gets miscommunicated, and that just leads someone to just be truly frustrated and disappointed, and more than anything.
And there are some bad dealers out there, but I got to say, and I'm gonna make some people upset. I don't want to do that, but there are some bad owners out there, some bad customers that don't do the required. I'm just saying it, Zach. There are some people out there, and when they are upset, and I understand their frustration, and they take to social media, I guess it's the only way that they can vent. But for every one person that vents something horribly negative, and it could be justifiable, there's thousands of people that don't post at all about their wonderful camping experience that they had with their RV. So, I just don't want people to be tainted too negatively when they start reading some negative comments, but I certainly understand them.
Well, and to be honest with you, I mean, I deal with it all the time as well, where we might have a customer who, frankly, compared to the rest of our customers, is completely unreasonable. And the way that they try to fight and drive things through the chain and social media and do all this, and unfortunately, in a sense, it rewards bad behavior, because most dealers are going to bend over just like, let's just get this guy out of here. Let's get him taken care of so that we don't have to deal with him again, and he stops bashing everybody online. So they'll do whatever they have to, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to deal with somebody that's a jerk. And there's certain people that a lot of dealers just like, I don't have to do business with you. We did business together, but the way you treat my people, or the way you've treated all of us, or the way you've acted doesn't mean that we're going to bend over again for you to really try and help you when we have these thousands of other customers that have been so great to us over the years. Those are the ones that we want to help.
Yeah, but it's not just in the RV business. It's in the campground. It's in the any business. If you approach it, as I say, down here before you go, DEF CON, whatever up there, if you try to be respectful and try to think of the other person, most of the time people really do want to see you happy. But they don't want to be treated like crap, so they're not going to be a doormat. So anyway, here's another negative one. Terry Burns says, ha, 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 ha. He says that was funny. Two or three of the, did you see the one, 2 or 3 large corporations in the country are buying all the dealers out? And he thinks that the manufacturers ought to just cut the dealers out and go completely direct, where the buyer buys from the manufacturer, and then the dealer does whatever the service work. I know that's a big subject, a lot to unpack, but what's the short answer on that?
I would say, yes, is there a consolidation happening in the industry? Absolutely. You got a lot of people who are bigger getting bigger, and they're buying a lot of dealerships out there. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But on the other hand, as far as the business models in our industry, it's like we talked about last week. I think in the auto world, to compare, he's referring to maybe like the Tesla type format, where you don't have dealerships, you just have, quote, service centers. Well, if you've ever tried to go through any of the service centers or deal with that, or if you don't live in a major metropolitan area, it's a nightmare. And we're not dealers. It's not what we do best. We're manufacturers. We build really good product as our goal, and we try to stay focused on exactly that. We have dealer infrastructure out across the country in order to service our customers. And having that dealership that you can go to and get service and have a relationship and be able to have a better experience is incredibly important, rather than trying to find mobile service from Indiana to come out while you're in Montana. It's just, in the current state, it's just not a realistic proposition. I can't speak to 30 years down the road and what other kind of disruptive things happen in industries. Maybe the Tesla type model does make it to us. But at the end of the day, this is a relationship industry, more so than most, I think. And it's manufacturer to dealer, but also dealer to customer. And
the dealers that I know are trying harder than ever to make their customers happy. They're bending over backwards. We got a Don on YouTube is watching. He says that the roof on his fifth wheel in the hot sun gets soft. What can he do about that? I don't know, what is any specifics. That's just kind of the question. So,
well, not to be a smart aleck, but I'd say take it to your local dealer and have them take a look at it. That's why you want that relationship. But there's so many questions that could come from that. How old is it? What's the roof material? What's your actual roof made out of? If it's a laminated roof, there could be something going on up there. I can't give a great answer without really knowing more information on what he has and what he experiences it and some stuff like that.
Right. Got a message from Trish. She says that they're looking at buying a used RV, wants to know if there's any kind of a database to check out any problem brands or models. Do you know of anything like that?
The best thing I would say is to get on the Facebook forums and join. If you find a particular brand that you're looking at, is look up if there's like an owners group for that particular brand, and get in there, because you're getting real people and real interaction. And most of these groups, especially, and again, I'm biased, I'm speaking about Flagstaff and Rockwood, our groups, the people are very engaged, and you can get in there and ask questions and they'll be brutally honest with you. It used to be a website called rv.net, I believe, was the forums where people would type and post things. I don't know if that's still a thing anymore. I actually haven't been on there in a long time. Even things such as some of the stuff that you do, Alan, with like the Texas RV camping Facebook groups, and find your state and get in there. I mean, your group, I think, has 70,000 people in it that you can post something. Inevitably, somebody's probably had an experience with something. But the one thing I would say is, yes, there's trends with brands, but used RVs are a little bit different than just like, oh, am I buying a used Hyundai? Well, Hyundai has a good warranty and all that. Used RVs are houses on wheels, and they get used totally different. Every one of them is unique in how they've been used, how they've been taken care of. There's so many factors there that you can find trends, but it's hard to equivocally say like that is bad when it's used. That makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, we've got Marshall on Facebook is asking, he says, are there enough component manufacturers to hold the cost on repairs or replacement? He says it seems AC, refrigerators, and the like have very few manufacturers. And that's true. There's not very many people not very many companies that make those things.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I don't even know how many companies we have now that supply. As far as for RV specific ones, there's more getting into it. We use Carrier Van, which is the largest AC manufacturer. It might even be in the world. I know it is in the U.S. And they're able to onboard multiple different plants and facilities across the country to meet demand for us, which is great. There's been some other people that have entered into that market in the last few years as well. But I would say in the short term, no. And it applies to almost everything out there. I mean, if you go try and buy anything, I was just reading something about bicycles today, because we're about to get one of my daughters a bicycle, and they're talking about there's this massive component supply chain shortage. So manufacturers of bicycles are substituting, instead of getting this brand of components that you would normally get, they're putting whatever they can get on there. So it's not isolated to just RVs and like refrigerators and our components. I mean, it is the economy wide as far as, supply chain issues right now. So I would say no, certainly not enough. I hope that the ones that we do have are able to kind of catch up their supply chain once we normalize at a certain level to meet that demand, and also be able to help on the service end get those replacement parts out there faster as well.
I'll promise you they're working as hard as they can. I'll guarantee. Let's take one more from Stay-at-Home Dad. Says that he has found that dealers do not know a thing about their products. Their service department doesn't even understand how having a heavier duty axle, for example, changes anything. And He says, do you want me to go on? I know I said this was probably going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but you're certainly up to taking on these things. What do you do? I mean, some salespeople don't know diddly. They don't.
Yeah.
But there's some salespeople that know a lot. And what do you do, Zach?
I mean, I think, it comes back to everybody's going to have a little bit of a different experience. And, I think the main challenge that most dealers out there have are people. It's a people industry, and it's based on people. And retaining those good people is very difficult. One of our challenges as far as, especially at least when this is like a normal pace, like right now, everything's selling. So I think one of my biggest concerns over the last year has been, and I've talked about this a lot, is the level of product knowledge that most frontline salespeople or even service delivery people have is dwindling because they're not having to utilize it. And it's just transaction right now. Everything's so fast. So, one of our biggest challenges is just training people and training the sales teams. How do you do
that? How do you do that, Flagstaff Zach? Seriously. I mean, you do a lot of online stuff, Zoom calls, or what do you do?
So traditionally speaking, as an industry, we as an RV rep will go out and fly out and go visit our dealers. We'll visit our dealers in person. We'll train them on the product. We'll walk them through. We try to get as many people through as we can on the training while we're there, but it's limited in scope. It's tough to do. One thing that I've kind of done a little bit differently personally is created my own training videos and my own Facebook private group that is only for my dealer people. So only the people that actually work at my dealerships have access to this, and it is me being able to communicate directly with them. And I've got a couple hundred people on there, and it allows me to do stuff like this where I can shoot a video. I can, if I'm at a dealer or up at the plant, I can go up and I can intro a new floor plan, or I can talk about a specific feature. It's been a great way for me to be able to reach out, and obviously COVID has made things challenging, and I think we're seeing more of a digital onboarding of people. But I come back to it's a relationship industry, and there's a lot to be said about being in person and visiting your dealers, being able to show them hands-on with product of why and what's different. But it's in the current environment, it's incredibly hard. Guys want you to come visit, but they don't even have product on ground to show anything.
There's nothing like, nothing more effective than face-to-face. But I got to say that when you're able to, do those videos like you're doing and reach a couple of hundred people that are the key people, they can watch them live. They can watch them, at their convenience. Your effectiveness rate has gone up, I think. So anyway, listen, we're going to have to wrap this thing up, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and talking about some of the things that these consumers are thinking and responding to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely understand where a lot of them are coming from. And that's what you and I talk about all the time is all it takes is one bad experience and we lose someone in this industry forever. And so I hope, if anything, this type of stuff that you and I are doing will help prevent some of that and at least shed some light on what's happening out there.
I think we're doing a good job. Let's do it again soon, all right?
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Take care. All right, folks, most people that go camping have a good experience, but they don't go on social media, talk about all the fun they have. I mean, it's the minority of people that have those negative experiences that always seem to get the attention, try to change the conversation and make everything sound so bleak. Do not let rumors, I'm serious, don't let rumors and horror stories keep you from discovering how great RVing and RVing ownership can be. It's a lot of fun. It can be and is a lot of fun when you buy the right RV from the right dealer.